A growing clash between the White House and the press is unfolding as the war with Iran continues. President Trump and his allies say media coverage is biased and misleading. But is it really? We'll get the views of a veteran White House reporter in just a moment. But first, here's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking today.
I stand here today speaking to you, the American people, not through filters, not through reporters, not through cable news spin. A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing. We know this at this point. To downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step.
Well, my next guest knows what it's like to confront from the front row a U.S. president with hard questions. Frank Sesno was a White House correspondent before he became CNN Washington bureau chief in the 1990s. He is now a professor of media and public affairs at George Washington University. Frank, it's good to have you on the program again. It's good to see you again. Let me just start with President Trump. He is now a wartime president. He's commander-in-chief in the war against Iran and also in his battle against much of the news media. Take a listen to what he said 4 days ago.
Iran is known for a lot of fake news, and they deal with our fake news. And I actually think it's pretty criminal because our media companies, who have no credibility whatsoever, are putting out information that they know is false. And it's a very dangerous thing for the country. I think they could be in serious jeopardy.
So Frank, what are we seeing there? I mean, all U.S. presidents, they try to shape the narrative during a war. It never works completely. And now we've got Trump equating the reporting done by the news media with acts of treason. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, I've never seen anything like it. And it's incredibly disturbing because in the past, when presidents and administrations have taken the United States and frankly the world to war, they have understood that they need to build and maintain public opinion and global opinion. And they work very hard to do that. And they have understood that at some level, even though they want to spin events, credibility matters. And if what they are saying is counter to what people are seeing on their screens or experiencing on the ground, credibility is undermined and then the public support is undermined. And that's what's different and dangerous here, is you've got the President of the United States saying that there is a deliberate effort to misrepresent what people are actually seeing with their own eyes. And, that's not just about information. As I say, that's about credibility, public support, and ultimately the success of the mission.
It feels like, too, that there's a clear push here for alignment. I mean, is the expectation now that the media should support the war effort rather than scrutinize it? Well,
Yes, I think that is something that is probably similar across administrations from what I've seen. I mean, I covered the first President Bush when he went to war to push Saddam Hussein and Iraq out of Kuwait, and then second President Bush when we did that in Grenada and all this other kind of stuff. Administrations always want support. They want the media to be supportive and to craft and to convey the narrative that they in the White House or the Defense Department are trying to convey. But they also understand that bad things are going to happen, that people are going to die, that setbacks are going to take place, and that they need to confront that and acknowledge that and recognize that that is part of the story as well. That's what's different here. The narrative that's coming from the White House and elsewhere is everything is great, we're in control, whether we need allies or not, none of this matters. And they are not confronting and embracing the complexity, the nuance, the setbacks that we're already seeing.
Yeah, I mean, things have been turned around, haven't they? I mean, you would think that journalists would hold people, elected officials, to account, but now accountability is being reframed as political opposition. I mean, reporting the news is almost tantamount to being an enemy of the people. I mean, that is how extreme it has become. I mean, do you see it that way as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the other day, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission said that broadcast networks might lose their license because he and the administration don't like the way they are reporting the story. Well, first of all, he doesn't have the power to do that. Nobody really thinks that he could fulfill that threat. It certainly is an authoritarian threat. And again, and this would be a very long separate conversation where we could actually look at what is the coverage, what is their problem with that coverage, and is there deliberate misleading going on here or misreporting? And the answer is no, there is not, certainly not on a broad scale. And by the way, we now have a media in this country where, and much of it is the media that this administration embraces, that is a purely partisan media. And so the media landscape itself has changed substantially. But the fundamental issue here of reporting the news from the war zone as things are happening, who's attacking whom, with what result, what is burning, how many people are alive or dead, those are the facts of the story that need to be reported, and those should not be assailed as some kind of partisan thing, presuming that they're being presented in the right way.
Yeah, and maybe if you can't control the narrative directly, maybe you can control the institutions where that narrative is created. Who owns the media should decide what the media gets to say. I mean, that's what we've been hearing a lot in this administration. And it seems to be pushing that further and further. I want you to take a listen to what the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said last Friday about the media.
Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
So we pulled that by because of David Ellison. Now, for people who don't know, David Ellison, he is the Paramount Skydance CEO, whose company is acquiring or could be acquiring CNN parent Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, he is the son of Oracle co-founder and Trump ally Larry Ellison. So you see there's a connection here all the way to the White House. And if you listen to Pete Hegseth, it sounds like the administration would like to change the DNA of CNN. Is that going to happen?
Yes, it might. I don't think it will, because Ellison also the other day said that he wants an independent news organization, CNN. But there's a lot of pressure out there. Paramount does have CBS News, and that has somewhat changed its tone since the time. There's plenty of reason and plenty of space to criticize CNN and to suggest better reporting and better ways of doing it. We did that internally when I was there. They still do it now. It's welcome from the outside, even though sometimes harsh and whatever. But when I hear Pete Hegseth speaking like that, the way you put up, here's what I think. Rather than spending your time trying to shoot the messenger, which has been a consistent messaging tactic of this administration, how about a serious consideration and discussion with the American people in the world of exactly what did you know about what was the risk of the Strait of Hormuz, about what can be done to open that up. We are now seeing global implications of what is actually taking place on the ground. Maybe it would be more worth the time of the public, the media, and the Secretary of Defense and others to be talking about real world issues on the ground rather than complaining about coverage from the news organization they don't like.
Do you think there is enough, I guess, blame to go around here? And also maybe we should criticize ourselves and our colleagues, particularly in Washington. I mean, do you think that the reporters in Washington, are they being as firm as they should in demanding access, demanding answers? Do you think they're doing the job that is demanded in this type of political environment?
Well, first of all, we have to decide who are we talking about here? Are we talking about the press corps broadly as defined by the administration now, which includes bloggers and vloggers and influencers? Are we talking about traditional news organizations? Are we talking about partisan news organizations? Because it's a completely different environment now, as I say, than it was years ago. But if we're talking about traditional professional journalists who are meant to be conveying factual, fact-based information, and yes, holding people in power at all levels, including themselves, to account. And I think most are trying very hard to do that job. There are people on the ground in the region, some of whom are risking their lives to tell these stories. There are responsible people in news organizations that are saying, what does the public need to know? How do we get them this information? The problem that we've got, though, part of it anyway, is that the administration the Trump administration is not making itself available. Look, I've interviewed presidents, vice presidents, defense secretaries, and even when they're getting pummeled and criticized, they will sit down, or they have in the past, to take serious questions and try to explain that without constantly going into attack mode and saying, how dare you ask that question? That question is fake news or treasonous. That's, to me, a very desperate attempt to change the subject and, as I say, shoot the messenger. We now have war. We are in a war situation with very, very high stakes. The conversation should not be this constant attack on the media. The conversation should be people in responsibility, in positions of responsibility, answering serious questions from serious people about very serious issues.
Frank Sasno, it's always good to have you on the program, and always good to get your insights on a topic that certainly deserves a lot of attention right now. Thank you.
Thank you.